What is going on, folks? It's time for this week's Millennial Magdump, and today is not so much a rant or anything like that. It's actually going to be somewhat funny. But I was talking with a buddy of mine about the most common gun or firearm myths that are constantly perpetuated. So, without further ado, we're going to go into my top 5 that I really hate or find really funny. So number 1, we're going to start with perhaps the biggest one, the biggest misconception with firearms, and that's going to be knockdown power. Knockdown power is really a hunting term, has no place in the self-defense conversation or for even most of our intermediate down to normal rifle calibers. Knockdown power, simply stated, although there's not a clearly defined definition that I was able to find, means that when a projectile knocks you, a projectile having the power to knock you down, which is largely ignorant of the laws of physics, right? So if you shoot a gun and the bullet has enough force to knock somebody down, well, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if you're projecting that kind of force downrange, that kind of force is also coming back at you. So it's not really a thing. The same with stopping power. We'll go ahead and talk about that one too. Group that into number 1. For handguns. Handguns are terrible man stoppers. They, as a general rule, they're a tool of convenience. So stopping power and knockdown power are both kind of cringeworthy terms. But one thing we can talk about is if you're using a handgun defensively, where you put your rounds is going to be a whole lot more important than what caliber you're using. So that's it for number 1. Now I want to preface my second point on here by saying if you choose not to keep your shotgun loaded for safety reasons because you have small kids in the home, whatever, okay, we're not talking about that. But I want to address the whole just rack your shotgun and the bad guy will run away theory. The problem with this theory isn't so much that it won't work. The problem with this theory is that's where the planning stops. A lot of people that advocate that theory say that, oh, if you just rack your shotgun, they'll run away. You'll never have to shoot anybody because nobody wants to mess with that sound. False. A lot of criminals don't care that you racked a shotgun. A lot of criminals don't care that you're armed. So having the mindset that that's all you're going to have to do is really not a good way to defensively plan for a home invasion type situation or whatever else you have a shotgun that you're racking for. If you want to use that as a step, chambering a round should be a very intentional act, and you're doing so with the intention that you're probably going to have to fire the gun. So if you are hopeful that chambering the shotgun is going to make the bad guy go away and stop whatever he's doing, that's one thing. But counting on that as 100% fail-safe or option for defense, I wouldn't count on it. If the bad guy even hears it, chances are he probably won't care. Now, if you're done dropping all the hateful comments about point number 2, get ready for point number 3. This one's really going to set some folks off, but it is tragically dishonest advice. Carrying a handgun with an empty chamber is not just as good as carrying a handgun with a loaded chamber. A lot of people say that, you can train in the Israelis and, my sub 1 second draw, rack, and shoot. I don't care. It's not so much about how fast you can chamber the gun. It's more about it's completely ignorant of other possibilities that may occur in that fight that led you to be drawing that gun in the first place. You could have a broken arm. You could have an arm pinned beneath you. Yes, one-handed manipulations are a thing. They are good to practice if you need to do so. But having that as your, if my arm's broke, I'll just rack it off my belt, is a whole lot more complicated than, oh wow, if my arm's broken, I can draw the gun and engage with one hand. If you want to carry a gun with the chamber empty, that's fine. That's not my gunfight. I won't be there and I can't see it from my house. So whatever you want to do is fine, but don't make that stupid ass claim that it's just as good. If you're still watching this video and your blood pressure hasn't hit pre-stroke levels, point number 4 may possibly induce that. Stop telling yourself that knowing how to shoot is just as good as defensive training. It is not. Learning how to shoot, and by learning how to shoot, I mean the basics of marksmanship and operating a firearm, is very important. It's very important that you know how to use that gun well, that you can hit your target. Those are all foundational steps into getting good with a gun for defensive use. But going out and shooting 50 rounds twice a year is not the same as defensive training. Hell, going out and shooting 1,000 rounds 5 times a year isn't the same as defensive training unless you're also incorporating drills, qualified instruction, and trying to simulate stress as best you can. Yes, it's never going to be the same as a defensive situation gunfight, but learning how to get your cardio rate up and then put accurate shots on target. Having somebody else give you prompts at the range to draw and fire and engage a target. Using a shot timer with a buzzer that's set off to go at random intervals. These are all good things to help you defensively, and they're a lot different than sitting at a static range putting holes in paper. There's nothing wrong with target shooting. I do a lot of it. I know most people do. It's a fun thing to do. But if you're of the mindset that target shooting is magically going to prepare you for self-defense shooting, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. And finally, for point 5 of my top 5 firearms myths that just won't die, 45 is king. My Lord's caliber, my 45 ACP, it's a good round. It has definitely been a historic round. It's definitely a round I enjoy shooting. I have several guns chambered for it. I do enjoy 45. But there is a segment of the firearms community that thinks that if you don't carry a 45 ACP, I mean, you're obviously not a man. You're probably not fit to shoot a gun. Your wrists are probably as weak as boiled spaghetti noodles. Y'all are idiots. I know that back in the day when ball ammo was the go-to ammo of choice for everything, 9mm, 38s, 357s, and 45s, 45 did offer a significant advantage over 9mm because it was a bigger hole and the projectiles didn't really do anything but poke holes. Even now that is marginally true, but with the advances in technology to the point that we do have very reliable, very advanced hollow point designs, 9mm has come a long way, and it does offer sufficient fight-stopping energy. Now, with that being said, does 45 have more, impact? Yeah, it does have a few more energy foot-pounds. But if you're choosing a defensive handgun caliber, there's a lot more that goes into it other than just the potential damage it can inflict down range, right? Or we'd all be carrying 500 Smith & Wesson Magnums. There's size, there's ammo capacity. Perhaps the biggest thing for me and for a lot of shooters is the affordability of ammo. 9mm is orders of magnitude cheaper to buy in bulk and practice with than 45 ACP. And before somebody says, why don't you just carry a 22? Because 22 doesn't have the same energy foot-pounds, the same penetration, the same reliability as a 9mm. It doesn't have that just raw ballistic data to back it up as a solid primary choice for concealed carry and self-defense. So now we got that out of the way. It's no secret I'm a 9mm fan. A lot of people are. It's the most popular handgun cartridge in the world for a reason. So, like your 45s, enjoy shooting your 45s, carry a 45. Suggest 45 to friends. But stop acting like an idiot saying, 45 is king. So, today was kind of a funny Millennial Magdump. There's enough stuff going on in the news and all that with gun control, especially in Virginia. I really didn't want to do a video on that today. Thank you guys for watching. Stay safe. Keep shooting. I'll see you next time.